Support for the CivicSciTV network comes from viewers, readers, and listeners like you, and organizations such as the Berlin Science Week and the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Visit CivicSciTV.org to learn more about our network of programs.
Exploring societal challenges through the lens of civic science. This is the Perspective Program with host Diya Dwarakanath.
Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Diya Dwarakanath. Today, we're discussing how to engage our community through the arts to increase the representation of underserved girls and boys by Yamilée Toussaint, CEO and founder of the successful and growing nonprofit organization called STEM from Dance. As many in our audience may know, STEM also stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. Toussaint, a mechanical engineer, started this organization over 10 years ago. Today, their programs have reached over 4,000 girls. Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to speak with you today.
Wonderful. Let's connect the dots. So one of the most pressing issues of our time is really gender equality, which is also one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, to empower all women and girls. I saw on your website that only 5% of the STEM workforce is underserved women, specifically Indigenous, Hispanic, Latina, and Black women. And so what is your theory of change for addressing this, and how is your organization unique in working on this issue?
Sure. I believe that at the root of the issue you just described is the fact that at a really young age, many girls start to believe that they can't do STEM, that STEM is more for boys, it's not for them. And unless we address that, we're going to keep seeing the underrepresentation of women of color in STEM. And so, when I was grappling with, potentially offering a solution to this issue of what happens at such a young age in girls, naturally I thought of dance, which may not be natural for many people, but for me, I've been dancing my whole life and have always found dance to be a source of confidence and strength and joy and being challenged and having a community. And I thought those were the things that I want for STEM, that STEM purely needs. And that's what gave me the idea of combining dance and STEM so that girls can be encouraged and they can really start to believe that they can, in fact, have a future in STEM.
That's wonderful, especially as a dancer. I love that myself. So let's continue with a few high-level questions as an executive summary, given our short time. What has been the biggest or most surprising lesson learned about increasing representation of women and girls through dance and using dance as that medium?
I'd say that it's the power of meeting young people where they're at. For the girls that we serve, we, acknowledge that many of them just enjoy dancing. They like to be amongst their peers, doing something fun. And we use that as our opportunity, as like our open door to be able to introduce them to what feels less familiar. So that's, I think, the greatest takeaway is that it does work when you do reach young people where they're at.
That's good to hear. And to expand on that, how does dance help girls become risk takers and more intellectually curious? Because I saw that in your strategic plan on the website.
Yeah, dance has this beautiful ability of helping you see your potential, helping you feel powerful. There's something about the rigor of having to try something over and over again until you get it right that builds a sense of discipline and persistence that we know is really important in STEM, especially for girls when they are going to be up against challenges that others may not face. And what happens when we are able to sort of put these things proximal to one another, the confidence that they gain in dance and in themselves as young people extends to how they start to feel about themselves as future scientists and engineers when they come across a difficult math problem, or when they're tasked with creating a robot, a circuit, something technical, while it may feel hard at first, they have this built-in persistence that says, you know what, this is hard, but I keep going. If I keep trying, if I keep practicing, if I get help, I can do this. And that's what's important for girls to know, is that within them, they have the ability to do STEM. It's not that they're not STEM people, they're not math people, but they just need to be given an opportunity to see it in a light where they see their potential within it.
I see. And to expand on that, the dance you mentioned also, is culturally relevant, is something that was a term I read looking through your materials. And I'm curious, can you expand on what you mean by that?
Sure. When I was thinking about this solution to the underrepresentation of girls in STEM, I was thinking, okay, what do we already know that girls resonate with? And that's where I look to culture. Culture is relevant. And what are the things culturally that they gravitate towards? Well, I thought about the things that they do with their friends and family naturally, the things that they see present in their everyday, the things that they see even like in the countries that maybe their parents came from. And it was from that we saw how cultural dance is. The associations they have with dance could be, very positive. It could be the thing that they do with their cousins, or the things that their family does when they celebrate and they have a party. That relevance that we're bringing to, that comes from dance, that we get combined with STEM, then put STEM in a context that also can feel familiar and inviting and welcoming. And so that's why we really emphasize cultural relevance.
And to expand on that even more, the family and friends aspect is part of community. So my question for you there is, like, how do you incorporate the local community or the neighborhood's opinion and input in developing your programs?
Yeah, I think, what we acknowledge is that it's not enough for the girls to get that positive, encouraging message from us, but it takes, as many people in their lives to reinforce the message that these girls are capable to do well in STEM. And so, we rely on the community to show up when the girls perform, because there's nothing like being on a stage, or even before that, being in the wings and knowing you're about to get on stage and you've created something and there's a technical aspect to it. Like maybe they did a project where their costume lights up and they made it and they don't want it to fail, and they get on stage and then there's a lot of excitement, there's applause, there's shouting, and people to get that positive feedback from an audience can be transformational. So we really rely on the community to just show up for the girls and be that positive voice in their lives. And we're always open to feedback to make sure that what we do is something that that they want their daughters to participate in.
Do you have any structural mechanisms for getting that feedback in your organization, or how do you really work directly with the community that way?
Well, for us, one of the most important stakeholders in the community are the caregivers of our students. So we do have, for example, a survey that we give at the end of our programs to the caregivers, because we want to not only get their feedback, but also see what they're hearing from their children about their mindsets towards STEM. I think another important stakeholder in the community are schools and community-based organizations. And that is who we partner with to be able to deliver our program. So we have largely a train the trainer approach. where we are equipping educators and institutions across the country with implementing our content that is based on combining STEM and dance together. So we rely heavily on that partnership, and that's how we're able to be currently in 8 cities across the United States. So so what our partners think of our work is really important.
That's impressive. 8 cities. And so, knowing what your organization now knows, what actionable advice do you have for others trying to build similar programs from what you've learned with your program model, your program?
I think it's so easy to get to focus on some of the exterior things of trying to launch something or trying to run a nonprofit, like what's the logo and having a website and getting 501c3 status. And what I found is what was most important to our success was staying focused on our students, what they need, what they're responding to, what's resonating, what's not. And the closer we got to a program that they resonated with and yielded the outcomes that we were seeking, the sooner the rest of the other things came into place. So I would just strongly recommend that.
Thank you. And our final question to wrap up, what gaps or unanswered questions do you still have about reducing racial and gender inequity?
We have been, Central Dance has been doing this work for 12 years. And for a good part of that years, a lot of our work was very local, serving a relatively small group of students. And now at the point that we're at, we've been able to grow to be able to serve more, and that capacity is only increasing over the years. So, something I think a lot about is how do we take this experience where I used to be in the room with the 15 girls and we're doing this work together to making that experience something that can be scaled, and so that as many girls could have that experience. And there's a lot of positive feedback that we have been getting with being in these various cities so far. So I am encouraged that it can in fact scale, but yet there's still a lot to figure out to make sure that that the growth is great for all the girls that we serve.
And on that note, we're going to wrap it up. So thank you to the audience for listening. Remember, science belongs to all of us. And Yamilée, thank you so much for your time and expertise today. And I hope that we can have you back on the show.
Yes, happy to be back. Thank you.